Let's use this time to understand, open up our energies, really grow. The whole purpose of these talks, these sessions, is to grow as a person uh, in this beautiful life that we have been blessed with. And especially today being Christmas, such a special day where the messages all around are of blessings, receiving, giving. And that's what we have been talking about gratitude in a different way in the past few weeks. And similarly, today we just wanted to, I just had in mind that I would offer maybe a little meditation or a little process like we did last time to really learn to open up our heart centers and not just do it through a session or at a time of crisis, but actually just make that our default mode to be always, always operating from a space of love. And a space of love is always giving, it's always so fulfilling. And that's what we all need to connect to and actually make it a part of our lives, not just for today, but uh, integrate it in such a way that that just becomes the way that we begin to live.
Merry Christmas and a very, very warm welcome to the last session of the year with Sunday Conversations with our dear mentor Sujata ji. The joy of giving, and actually, I was telling her in the morning, I said, we talk about just one day, but for a lot of us who have been, learning from Sujati and other spiritual mentors and all, each day, I believe that these people are 365 days Santas to us. Whether they are there doing something physically for us, but at least, they have guided us through to this level that we can actually live in gratitude and understand that what exactly is the joy of giving. It's primarily more we give ourselves, the more we find ourselves. And for me, it would never have been a journey without you, Sujata. And being the last session of the year, and of course, every day I would really want to thank you and can't thank you enough for that. And a lot of people would agree with me here, those who walked their path and changed their thinking process and this transition they would be seeing. Um, as we all know, you see, the joy of giving is more to do about ourselves. It's never been what the other person feels after we do a little thing for them. And definitely, it is giving has nothing to do with material giving. The connotation of giving, usually people focus on what we can do in terms of think, buying, gifting. But it starts with what and how we can support one another, starting from giving hope, love, grace, patience to somebody else, giving our time to somebody else, praying for somebody. If someone is actually going through a difficult time, we could just say, we are there with you, standing by them. One doesn't even need to speak to be there. It's just a feeling that is enough for one another to know as we understand the energies flow faster than words. It's like it nourishes our soul. It's an intrinsic reward that we give it to ourselves, to our soul, when we do bit of it for somebody else. So it's actually said to find yourself, you have to lose yourself in service. Over to you, Dee. And thank you so much for the opportunities that you've been giving me all through and guiding us. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinita. That was really, really wonderful. And I just caught on to this one line, which is so beautiful that in really finding yourself, you have to lose ourselves, but to service. So that is just such a beautiful way of sort of devoting our life to service, right? And by service, we don't mean that we have to really put ourselves out and tell people or show people that, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is, these are the sort of acts of service that we are doing. The most important service is to just hold space for somebody, just to be there, like you mentioned. And it's again not about doing or even giving. It's more about just being in presence and offering your presence. That's really what I would want each one of you in your hearts to connect to and sort of enhance inside you. Pray that you're able to be that presence. Another thing that Vinita mentioned is to just, when I say even be, just offer your presence, what Vinita mentioned, you don't have to be doing anything, but even to give a listening ear to somebody, just to reassure that you are there, is the biggest service that we can offer to anybody, isn't it? And what it leads to, just to be able to say, a lot of times we think, but I can't do it. It's not my presence that will make any difference, but each one's presence, and each one of you have so much to contribute in your own ways to society, to your family, to each other. So don't ever think that I am not able to do or I'm not able to offer. Just because I sit here and I write and I speak and I tell you that I'm sending healing and doing that, it does not mean that any one of you is doing any less. So don't put yourself down at all. And I have really want to end this year, as we, like Vinita said, this is the last Sunday talk of the year. I really, from my heart, want to thank you for even listening and believing in what I'm saying. I always say that my talks, my experiences, whatever I share has been true for me because it is my true experience. Yes, there are things we read which sort of make us understand those experiences, and we put it out to all of you only because we know that you too might be going through some kind of a turmoil, or might be slipping into some kind of a phase where you feel that I'm not sure if I can help myself out of it. But believe me, each one of you has that ability in yourself to help and make your way out or support yourself through any circumstance in life. So today, focus on giving to yourself, even if it feels selfish. Even if it feels selfish, because it's only by giving to yourself, by being in that presence, being in the present yourself, can you be a present to somebody else, isn't it? I was just reading, I think before this, I was messaging Vinita and I was reading her status, and it said something like, give, offer to others, but remember that you too exist. You are a priority. I know I'm not quoting it in the right way, but it was something like that, Vinita, right?
Yeah, it was correct. And I've always learned so much from you because self-love wasn't my way at all.
But sorry, I'm just forwarding this to somebody because a few people, I don't know why, but the link is asking for a password for some. Okay. So yeah, why is it that self-love, why is it that we feel selfish doing for ourselves and it's always about doing for others, and also coming from a space of doing where it is shown and it is validated that we have done this? That's really not the way of giving, right? So when you start giving to yourself, value yourself, only then others will value you, isn't it? So when we say give yourself or give to others, is to just make yourselves a priority. Give yourself that, that love that you're seeking from outside. Honor your presence, honor your life, and you will see from that aspect how much you will receive from others too. We have been speaking in this last month in particular about how when people are, say, so-called not good to you or judging you or trigger something inside you, as we spoke last week, how to be loving to them. And similarly, when life triggers you or throws situations and circumstances at you, how not to get triggered by them and hold your energy and be loving to yourself and to life. When I say to yourself, what is it when you say to yourself? Yourself means you, your life, isn't it? Is it making sense? Do we have some questions? And firstly, thank you all. A lot of people have joined in after I started. So thank you all for being here and sharing your energies, because that's what makes this, this talk and your presence really creates that energy of whatever we are trying to share on this platform. So even though it's a cold, wintry morning, but thank you for being present and offering your energies here. And today I really want to hear from a lot of you. What is it that you have gained? What is it that you still feel doubtful about? Let's speak about that. Don't hesitate to share, because a lot of times when some of you speak for a lot of others who might be holding that question in their hearts. When I initially learned Reiki and I used to go for these energy healing sessions, I was very scared that, a ma'am or whoever's conducting the seminar or the workshop might point a finger to me and say, speak up, because I was not a person who was very comfortable speaking up in groups. But till the time you don't put it out to the universe, and even if you say that, I feel hurt or I feel upset, I feel jealous, I feel angry, when you put it out to the universe, you're only putting out that part of you which does not belong to you, and you want to get up and about and out with it. So if you want to type it in the chat, do that. Don't hesitate to ask, because this is really reforming. It's not just Vinita who's listening and feeling that, it's changing her life. Each one of you present here, whether it is these talks or any other modality or medium through which this energy begins to change inside you, it will happen. Put yourself out there. Don't hesitate to ask, even if it seems my question might be silly. There is no silly questions. There is no silly question. We grow with these questions. So don't hesitate to ask. If you feel I'm not able to do it or I still get caught, just be honest to yourself. That's the first way of honoring yourself. And that's the first step to self-love. Don't judge yourselves at all.
Hi, Sujata.
Yeah, Harmeet, Vani is waiting to ask her question and then I'll come to you.
Sure, sure.
Okay? Yes, Vani, go ahead.
Hi, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
So, Sujata, like you said, that, you can see the recording. So initially, when you started giving the recordings, it was like, okay, I can miss it out and I can make my own Sunday plans and probably hear the recording. But so many times when I've heard the recording, I've wanted to speak up and realizing that, oh, it's not a live session and I'm hearing a recording. And I think that's what motivated me to make my plans around the conversation and be here. If we wish, we can definitely spare 1 hour on a Sunday morning and then.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not about giving up any plans at all. It's only what is your priority. And I'm not in any which way saying, there are a lot of times when I have a plan and I just don't take a session, that's fine too. But I also encourage you, Vani, thank you really. You've really been a part of this group and shared so much and asked so much and really spoken for a lot of others. So I'm really thankful and grateful to you. And I would say that even when you're listening to the recording and questions come up, just put them out on the group or send them to me so that we can address them in the following Sunday. Our topics are not separate. If you look at the entire talk, our topics are not separate. They all have the underlying same sort of link or motivation that we're trying to point to or get to. So it's just how we address. Sometimes we get caught in that same issue at work. Sometimes we get caught in that same issue in our relationships or at home or in any aspect. So when we address the same things from different angles, I truly believe that we're all just being guided to that one universal truth of understanding that there is no separation, dropping our ego, living with love, living with gratitude in the high vibrations. It's just put together in different ways, but it really means the same. It really brings us to the same center and the same core. So even when you're listening to the recordings and you feel that, how will this teaching be effective in that particular situation in my life? Please feel free to put it down, because that also gives us a clue to pick up and answer a question through the week. So thank you so much for sharing. And just remember, the whole motive, the whole focus is coming into your heart space, centering yourself, and then doing whatever you need to. So focusing on just being in your center of love, and then operating from that space and doing whatever you need to. Thank you so much, Vani.
Thank you, Sujata. Sujata, so, like the topic that we are discussing about self-love, I think, while we are growing up, we Indians are always taught, दूसरों के लिए करो, दूसरों के लिए करो. And probably in the bargain, we forget to kind of, do it for ourselves. And then I realized something that, we've been conditioned to do for others. So when something happens to us, we also expect others to do it for us. So independence is something that we have kind of not learned. But, eventually you learn, and it just helps. It makes life easier for everyone around and for your own self.
Yeah, in a way, you may say it's not really Indians. It's just how humanity is that, always offer yourself and don't be selfish. Like from childhood, we teach children to share their things and to, offer and greet and be in that energy of respecting others. But yes, it is very important because we do not teach or we are not taught how to really respect ourselves from childhood. So that is one aspect which we surely need to bring into our awareness and even teach our, say, children or grandchildren or children as they are growing. It's never too late to understand, to honor your own presence, your own life. And only you can do that. Nobody else can do that. And when you start doing that for yourself, understand that you're here for a bigger purpose than just to be a mother or a daughter or a, or a good partner or a good sister. No, there is much, much more to that than just living in this setup as such. It's your journey. You've come here because it's a part of your soul journey to grow, to evolve, to be in those high vibrations, which we say is like a high consciousness or God consciousness or Buddha consciousness. Any struggle that you're going through, and I'm realizing it more and more in the sessions that I do when people come up complaining about issues that they're going through, whether it is in their office setup or in their home setup or in their relationships or in their health. And everyone, each one of us here are exposed to different kind of stories, different kind of dramas in our lives, isn't it? Somebody is looking after an ailing parent, somebody is looking after an ailing child, somebody has acute problems in their relationships, somebody just cannot break out through financial struggles. So whether it is health, relationships, career, finances, or just feeling stuck on your journey in life, you have to understand that that little problem, and when I say little, it might not be little because at that moment it is so big for you. It is like a dead end, isn't it? It's like a dead end because at that moment you feel, I just don't know how life is going to be after this issue, incident, or whatever trauma that might have happened at that moment. But that's not true. This is just like a little speed breaker where life is telling you to slow down and reflect and see what is happening around. And for what, uh, due to what reason you've attracted it in your life. And when I say that, a lot of times people ask me that, why would I attract a terminal illness? Why would I attract something which is, not for my highest and best? Well, you only attract it because it's a part of your soul journey. We choose to live and grow in certain ways and then transcend that negativity, overcome that negativity, that emotion, that vibration, so that we can live from a higher space. And if for any reason we get triggered and we fall back into that, we know that we're able to pull ourselves out. And then we start living from that space. So many of you on this group, and I can vouch for each one of you present on this group. I think a couple of years back, and that includes maybe even me, there were issues that happened, whether it was, just arguments at home, engagement with children, with staff, with other people at work. We used to get so angry, we would get jealousy, we would get, all those lower emotions, or we would get into a space of fear that I don't know how I'm going to deal with this situation in my life. But today, when such a thing happens for any of us, each one of us present here, we know that there will be a way out. A part of us knows. So we don't panic or we don't fall into that low vibration, isn't it? We know that whoever has put us through, in some ways, we'll be guided out. Yes, at that moment, we might lose it sometimes, we might get into fear, but it is not to the degree where we give up and we feel that there is no way out. That's only because through these last 2, 3 years, and COVID was such a big example of that, so many of us really experienced or saw people, who were moving on, passing away. We saw death so closely. We saw fear so closely. But today we can say that we've all come out of it, isn't it, in a much, much better way? Yes, there have been losses, there have been traumas. I'm not denying that. But yet we've survived and we've come out of it, isn't it? So whatever next, if there is anything which we are, sort of is being talked about, we know that we'll be able to deal with it, isn't it? And similarly in life, Similarly, in life, if there are situations which are more personal than just this big trauma of COVID or the COVID situation, look at those also from a space where you can come out of them. You don't have to slip into that space of fear and anger and, all the lower emotions, because now you've been exposed to a different way of living. You can deal with those things with love, with gratitude. That's how you will transcend them. If we keep resisting it, that this situation should not happen in my life, why is it happening? I don't know how to deal with it. Why does this reoccur? Understand it's a pattern that you're attracting. Why is it that I'm triggered by the same person again and again? Why is it that the same emotion is triggered by different people in my life? It's because it's a vibration inside you. Now, at the end of this year, always remember that the focus is going to turn totally inwards. Totally inwards for every situation. And that's one thing that I really want each one of you to walk into 2023, taking responsibility for whatever is happening in your life and seeing how you can change your energy and your vibration to help yourself out of that. That is true self-love. Situations will reoccur, triggers will reoccur, people will behave in the same way. In life, you will be thrown in the same kind of turmoil again and again, but you will stop blaming. You will stop the blame game. You will see whatever is the reason and how you can find your way out of it by operating with love, not with fear. And then looking at every situation from a bigger perspective, broadening that lens now, not looking at it, oh, this is happening to me, he's doing this, she's doing this is happening, I don't know how to deal with it. Look at it as something that the universe, that God has thrown at you. And you have the ability to deal with it and find your way out of it. And you will be able to do that. Recognize your own power. Power does not always have to be aggressive. Power can be full of love. That is your biggest power. Connect to yourself and affirm that I will only operate in every aspect with love. And yes, if something triggers, you fall into a space of anger or restlessness or fear, anxiety, stop, pause, connect to your greatest support, your greatest power, which is your breath. Connect to your breath, come back to your breath, center yourself, and you will see you will be able to take a step ahead. Even if it is a tiny step, applaud yourself and move ahead from there. Does it make sense?
A lot of sense. Sujata, I want to share something.
Yes,
So
Vani.
during COVID time, you kind of kept telling us and reiterating it that someone else's reality is not your reality. So when everybody was getting COVID all around, like I have had close interactions with people getting COVID and like literally tested myself some 10 times. Fortunately, touch wood not got it ever again till now. But every time something was happening, I was like, affirming. I said, someone else's reality is not my reality. Just because this person was sitting next to me doesn't mean that I'm going to get
Absolutely.
it. And
Absolutely.
and it really worked. And when you're talking about manifesting ill health, so in September I was really exhausted with work. So every time I used to leave for work, I used to see my bed. Oh, I wish I could just sleep. I'm so tired of just sitting at work. And within 10 days, I manifested a cyst on my tailbone. I underwent a surgery. I had to be on bed rest for 30 days. I was not allowed to sit. I had to constantly lie down. So I could walk, but I couldn't sit. So then you realize your own power of like how a small thing that, oh, I want to sleep, and how it manifested into a
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, Poonam, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Auntie. I think what I can very well resonate is going into those spaces again and just coming back. Uh, you know, Especially, I mean, the COVID times and things have been changing. What I have noticed, and that's happening as well, that once you start this journey, and you just kind of fully commit to it in terms of And it's not just like, that this becomes the center of your life, but it is something that is happening parallel, even without you putting in the effort. You start attracting your your herd, so it's like wherever you go, you'll meet the people of this similar mindset, and that just kind of makes your belief even stronger. So just to give you an example, I attended one of these trainings, and I always thought that these trainings or the sessions that I did were meant to, people with the HR background or with the training background. But I was so surprised that there was not a single person in that training session who was from that background. Rather, there were, I think all of them were actually from the animal space. They were practicing spiritual modality in some form or the other. Uh, and it was very, very surprising. I mean, like each one of them that I spoke to, somebody's into sound healing, somebody's, into EFT, pranic healing. Everybody bring in, that sort of, I would say, energy and information. So yeah, I mean, as you kind of, I mean, for me, the learning is if you just stay in this space, you'll get more such people, and your path will just kind of keep enhancing and going forward.
Excellent. So we are seeing more and more people turning towards this intangible energy more and more, because actually everybody's understanding that this is the truth. This is what we all need to turn to sooner or later, because everything else in the analytical or so-called logical world is being looked into, but still we are coming to a dead end, isn't it? We are not feeling satisfied or fulfilled. So where now? What now? Where do we turn to now? And this bottomless pit, when we go into this energy and we keep sort of working or using these modalities, we do see, though they seem to be bottomless because there's so much that we can learn and gain from here, but we do see that this is what we ultimately need to turn to. By being aggressive, by being fighting, by being in fear, we will not achieve what we truly can achieve with love. And that will be so satisfying. And it's not about satisfying or fulfilling others' expectations and others' mindsets, but really being true to yourself and feeling that sense of satisfaction. And believe me, if you come from a space of, feeling that goodness within you and you're not really harming anybody, nobody can feel hurt in that situation. And if they do, that's really their problem. And it's because they are coming from a very, very powerful ego space. And that's what we are really learning. And that's why these modalities are becoming more and more important, because we don't or no longer associate with that aggressive way of being. It's really about coming into a space of love and living from that space more and more. And then feeling that sense of satisfaction, that sense of oneness, which every religion, every scripture is pointing to, the ultimate truth. I forgot, Harmeet, you wanted to say something. I'm sorry. Please do share your whatever you
Hi,
wanted to
Sujata.
share. Hi, Harmeet.
First, I wanted to just thank you, for being there. And this journey has been amazing, But still, uh, I know so much. I go to satsangs and I attend different sessions also. But still, sometimes, life just bogs you down. You keep doing something and you're not uh, being successful, in worldly sense or monetary sense, I'm talking about, and you feel disheartened. You don't know what you should do it or you should just leave it. So, but even while I just wanted to share that through these spiritual talks, you get that boost, that push. That's what I wanted to share. That the most important thing is our own happiness. If we are happy doing what we are doing, then we are successful. That's what came to me, and
Yeah.
so that boosted me up today. And in satsang we used to hear a story, like it was a story about a horse seller, and he went to a fair, and he wanted to sell the horse, and the horse got sold quickly because it was pretty amazing and one of the kind horse. So but the person who bought it, he said, "Ki, just keep it with you. I'll give you the money, but I will not take him because I'm busy. I'll take it at the end of the day." So the whole day, the horse seller, the one who brought him to the fair, he was with him, and people came and they said that we want to buy it, but he has to say that it's already sold. I cannot sell it again. So in satsang, they always tell us that if you receive happiness from something for yourself, and if you then want that reward for the same thing from the world also, from the people also, that's selling the horse twice. So it means if I am happy with whatever I am doing, so I'm already receiving the reward. Then after that, even if I don't get it, I should not even expect it. So I should just do whatever makes me happy in the end. So that's what I got from you, and I just wanted to share and say thank you also for, you know, connecting with us and reminding us again and again where we have to go.
Absolutely. Yeah. And thank you for that wonderful story. And we would love to hear such stories. You're not just sharing this wisdom with children, but even we're happy to hear these stories here in this group because they all have an
Sure.
underlying message. Maybe we are telling the children not to fall into that greed or that aspect, but understand that happiness for yourself. So I believe when you say this and you put it so simply, we can only give what we have. How can we make others happy if we are miserable? Isn't it?
Exactly.
I mean, many authors have said, and many wise people have said that if you have a cup full of coffee, you cannot get tea from it. Isn't it? So
Hmm.
if you want to share happiness, fill your cup with happiness and let it overflow. If you want to
Right.
share, like if you're full of anger, that's what you will share with other people, isn't it? So just connecting to yourself and being happy for yourself is absolutely not just being selfish, because that's when you will share the happiness with others. And that's what we really need to do, and bring up and raise the vibrations of not just yourself or your family, but raise the vibrations of the entire universe.
Yes. Thank you, Sujata. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Harmeet. Thank you so much. Vinita, you have something that you were going to ask?
Yeah, I was actually saying, most of the people realize that the coming back to the topic that actually we started was the joy of giving. They हम क्या दे सकते हैं? More they look at giving the material aspect, or maybe once in couple of months they go out and do something for the needy or underprivileged, and the rest of the time, it's the regular life that is going, neglecting possibly even the old parents at home and so much more. I mean, while being a journalist, I do so many stories, and some of them are such heart-wrenching stories, especially coming from senior citizens. That one aspect of the children is that okay, they are going out, giving it where there is a validation from a maybe social media and other 10 people, but they can't give time to their own parents, aging parents sitting at home. It's something that I think we all, and especially we're all at this age that, our parents are growing old. We just somehow are not able to get this across to each one and to ourselves that what they need is time, is our conversation or a phone call if they are not around. And it's not about that we sending them expensive gifts or we doing something for others once in a couple of months, and we think that our so-called charity or doing for others is done. I think it's a constant way of living, because in the corporate world, there is so much that is happening which doesn't come out, especially where the people back home are not. Uh, I won't say they're not treated well, but we know so many of the children are abroad. They're not connected. They just keep sending gifts and all. Where is that joy of giving? That's what possibly we need to bridge that way.
So we come back to understanding that, we have to look at giving from a very grassroots level. It's not about material things, it's about your presence. And that's exactly what I even mentioned, whether it is to elderly parents or to your own children. Sometimes parents don't even have time for children and other aspects. So I totally agree that it is really your presence that you need to offer, and not forget and not lose yourself in that race of life which we're all running after. I mean, parents are the ones who are wishing maximum success for their children, isn't it? Their prayers are said to be the strongest, isn't it? So it's not about just receiving from them. And yes, we see these things where we say that, yeah, Parents have given you a lot in your life, and now it's time for you to give back to them. But giving back to them can never be the same as to what they have given to you. We can never even think of it. Never even think of it, because as parents, or as being in a generation where we have grown up, married children, and we have elderly parents, we know that what they have given is not something, or what we are giving to our children is not something that they can ever sort of, it's not a matter of repaying. But yes, your presence, your time, your love, and that again can only happen when you are full of that love. You can't compartmentalize these things, that you have this for one area of people and not have it for the others. You cannot do that. That's really not the true way of being or living. Because when you become, and I can assure this, that all of you would be feeling it, that when you have that love in your heart, it is for everybody. Yes, their habits, their, just how children's habits irritate you or elders' habits irritate you, that's okay. But in your heart, you're not wishing them bad. You're not wishing them, you're always there wishing them well. And that's all that you need to do if you're coming from a space of love. If your ego comes up and then you say, oh, I've done so much for my child and now they need to return it to me, that's not really the way of being honest to your own life and to your own, say, parenthood, isn't it? So be in that space of love and then just let it flow. Just let it flow, because you cannot separate one from the other. When you are in that space of love, you will automatically pour it to people all around, because those things will mean important to you. They will be valuable to you to give that love. And whether it is to a staff member or to an elderly parent or to a child or to yourself or to your friends or your neighbors, there'll be no difference. I understand what you're trying to emphasize, especially since you work with senior citizens, and I totally understand. But we have to understand that each one, whether it is a senior citizen or the children, they're doing their best, but they're not coming from a space of love, isn't it? So many times we only push our children and we motivate them, go, get, achieve more, be in that thing. We bring them up in that way. And yes, we forget to give these values. And sometimes we do give those values also, but still children choose their own path. So we just need to respect them, respect each person where they are, not judge if the children are abroad or, they cannot, or they're trying to sort of compensate with gifts and all. That's just a journey that they have chosen. It may not be understood by them at this point, or they may be understanding, but they might be having limitations in their own life. And that's why we have to spread more of this love to each heart on the planet, wherever they are. And when they will feel that love in their heart, automatically they would want to share it with the near and dear ones, isn't it? So again, even like the topic that, or the thing that you were pointing to, Vinita, and this goes just to sort of validate what I was speaking a few minutes back, that it's not about just a single act of doing something, or, sharing your time or sharing gifts. It's understanding that there is a bigger purpose to whatever your life is offering you. Sometimes parents, elderly parents, need to understand detachment, need to understand their own, their own power. And I'm not meaning to put down anybody in any which way, but it's like life is offering them also a lesson in some way. It's not easy, it's harsh, it's painful. But then again, I say, today morning only we were talking to somebody, and I was saying that there is so much good in those relationships also. Cherish those moments. There is a reason why life has put you in this way, whether your children are overseas or you're not feeling fully looked after, or you're feeling some kind of an issue at this point. There is a reason that you have been put into that situation at this point in your life. But again, getting dissatisfied with that situation is not going to give you the answer. So look how you can make the best out of this situation, how you can connect to the power that you hold within yourself in this situation, how you can grow out and connect to your own strength in this situation. isn't it? We cannot generalize. Each one has a different soul journey, a different soul story chalked out for them. And the more we learn to open ourselves, open up our hearts, and share that love, the more we will see how it will spread all over the world and how people will live with more joy and more happiness and with more peace.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just do what feels right to you. Just do what feels right to you in your heart. And let's promise ourselves that as we go into the new year, it's like we spoke a couple of weeks back. A new year is just a date, it's just a night turning into day, but it's just a change of a calendar year. How it has been set, who set it, who made these years, who made these days. It's just something that is all a part of a bigger plan. We don't have answers to all this. We don't have, these are just natural sort of phenomena, as the number of days the earth takes to move around the sun, or the moon cycle and all that. These are all natural phenomena, and then learned men and people have understood this energy and just made them out like this, and we have blindly follow it. We don't question this. We never question these things. So just don't question life so much. Just as you take so much for granted, don't question life. Just take things as they are coming and know that you have the ability to deal with it. Always deal with it with love. Pray that you're able to deal with it with love. And promise yourself not to get caught in challenges or in low vibrations, because that is only not, it's like, of course, you feel very low and upset, and all those low emotions come into you at that time, but it's also your inability to honor your life. Really, really honor this life that you have been given. You have chosen to take this birth in this kind of a setup. And many of us might question that, but it is only for your growth. Examinations are always tough, but we've all taken all examinations through our lives, isn't it? And we've passed in all, some with flying colors, some with just scraping through. But we have passed, haven't it? We have passed all of them. Similarly, in situations which feel like examinations and tough, and you feel you may not be able to pass through this, just know that it is all passing and you'll come out with flying colors. And that's how you need to move into this so-called new year, to honor this life, honor yourself, really make it the most beautiful year of your life. And that'll come by making each day, each moment beautiful. So let's really promise ourselves and affirm to do that. And next week, it's going to be the 1st of January. I know many of us will have late nights. I mean, not me for sure, but many of us will have late nights. But if we all join in, I promise I'll be there, because I don't want to start the year by skipping the first Sunday. I will join in. So even if you can join in your quilts and your razais, you're most welcome with your screens off. Join in, because I'm going to bring up a set of affirmations that we will all affirm as we go into the new year. And it's okay if you can't join in, we'll send you the recording, but try to be there, because then the energy is very different. We'll bring up
That's
some
exciting.
affirmations, I'll definitely draft a little EFT script or something to promise just for ourselves. That's how we're going to honor our lives, isn't it?
That's
That's how we're
exciting.
going to honor our lives. So, yes, there are other offerings also that we do, but this sacred time just for ourselves, just to be there, to receive, to give, just to ourselves.
Can I just add something here
Yes,
since you mentioned time, Dee? So I was reading about it that time, as we've been talking, is just a calendar change and a date change. And time is so different for everybody. It's so linear when we are actually in a good space. So 1 hour passes so easily. Just in case if we're going through a tough phase or we're waiting for somebody, that 1 hour looks really long. So like our life, whatever the span of a human life is, possibly the mosquito's life is about 3 days. And so in the same bond from the pupa, you know, they grow, they reproduce, and then they die. That's what I was reading. I said, so for them also, the life that is 3 days for us, for them, it's the entire lifespan.
Mm.
So time is just so different for everybody.
Yeah.
It's so amazing, no?
It's absolutely relative, even for us. Sometimes when we're just
Yeah,
waiting for those 60 seconds to pass, like, when you're doing yoga and you have to hold a particular asana for, say, 60 seconds, it's like, my gosh, 1 minute is so long. And sometimes,
yeah,
when you just don't want to get out of bed and you look at the watch and say, okay, 5 minutes, it seems, my God, that was just a flick of a eyelid and, the 5 minutes have passed away. So, yeah, it's a very, very relative thing. Again, depending on how your vibrations are, isn't it? So
yeah.
that's why don't take anything in life as just being permanent. Any trauma, any situation, any circumstance, just know that it's just how you are feeling, and relative to your feelings, things or time just runs in that way. So, yeah, and even I was reading somewhere that, how sometimes we say, oh, this day passed so fast, or this week passed so fast, this month. And all of us at this time of the year say that, just didn't realize how the year has just passed by. It just flew by. So just thank God that it's flying by, but make use of that flight. Make use of that time where you can also be in that energy to fly with it. Don't just stand here and look at it flying by, fly with it. Fly with whatever is being offered to you, because you have that ability. Use those wings that you have. Your angels are always with you, and use those wings with the angels, and build up your dreams and live your dreams. Fulfill all that you wish to in your life. Don't have any regrets in any areas of your life. And once you come into that space, again, going back to the little story that Harmeet shared, going back into that space of being happy, peaceful, and satisfied with what you have, you will see that you'll only be in that area of high vibrations. And that's how we need to live our love and that live our life. And that's what we need to share more and more. Yeah, so thank you so, so much for joining in and listening and honoring this beautiful space. Keep coming, keep sharing. This is an open platform. Keep sharing with friends. The more we are, the more energy we create, the more love we share, the more we grow. Love is one thing which the more you give, the more it grows, isn't it? So keep inviting your friends and family to these sessions. Share, put your questions out, just without judging yourself. Receive all that you want to. This is a platform which is totally for you. So just be there, offer, share, send your love, receive love, give love, become love, as I say in the Reiki sessions. So just know that you are that love. And I just wish all of you a wonderful, not just a wonderful day of giving and receiving in this day of Christmas, but a wonderful new year and a wonderful life ahead. And promise yourselves that every moment you're going to just be in gratitude, be in love, and live your life in that way. And I pray that for each one of you. Let's make this planet a planet full of love, starting from our little Sunday conversation groups.